Hey everyone, it's Jessica. I'm so glad you're here with me today. So today I have some things from my Close to My Heart stash. These are the triangle Christmas trees and the triangle thin cuts from Close to My Heart, and the thin cuts do coordinate with those stamps. One morning not long ago, I spent quite a bit of time stamping out a bunch of these triangle trees in a rainbow of colors and then cutting them out. I used a whole rainbow like Rosy, Nectarine, honey butter, green apple, Clover, Capri, and I want to say royal for the purple. What I was doing was making some Christmas cards, and you can see here the two that I made. Obviously, I have more trees than I have cards done because the cards didn't quite turn out the way that I envisioned in my head. They were fine, but just really not what I had originally set out to do. So I thought that instead I would scrapbook these two pictures of my cat Atticus under the Christmas tree from last year and use up those leftover die cuts that I spent so long making, because of course I didn't want any of them to go to waste. I thought that they would be fun putting that rainbow of trees down here at the bottom and then just sticking the two photos like so in the center of the page. Now, I did have a lot of white going on. I mean, the trees are stamped on white cardstock, and so I thought maybe it'd be fun to put a different color back there. So I grabbed some Mink cardstock, and then I also found this pattern paper from my stash. This is from the old Holly Jolly collection from Close to My Heart, and I had this strip in this size. It was a scrap left over, so I thought, you know what, fine. I'm going to use it, and it's going to be big enough, and I'm going to use it as like a grounding piece for my trees. So my thought was that these trees would go across the bottom of the page in rainbow order. So I am beginning with the greens right in the center of the page and then moving out from left to right. I spent quite a bit of time kind of messing around with the placement of the trees. I wanted to stagger them, some of them higher, some of them lower, and later I will put some up on foam tape. And I messed around with it for quite a while and then realized that that was kind of silly because I was going to have to move them all to glue them down anyway. So at least I have an idea. Off camera, I took my Mink cardstock and I did use my sewing machine just to add a wonky border 3 times around the outer perimeter of the page. And then I also grabbed my little foam tools in the coordinating colors for all of my stamped trees because, again, there just was a lot of white and I felt like they were kind of not standing out enough and they just needed a little bit more color to make them pop. So I am going to take my little foam tool here and then the same color ink that the trees are stamped in and just kind of add a little bit of inking to the edges of all of them. And I think maybe I would have liked my Christmas cards a little bit better if I would have done this to the trees. So with my trees that I have left over after this layout, I'm going to go back to making some more cards, I think. So I did like those. I spent a long time gluing these down because, again, I had to figure it out, the placement all over again. Even though I did take a picture, I was trying to get them just so. And then I also glued a couple of spare pieces of die cuts behind a couple of the trees just to give them a little dimension. And then some of them I also put down with some foam tape. So they're all kind of popped up at different varying heights and thicknesses and such like that. Now, I didn't have my photos glued down yet, so I did just kind of hold them in place with a little bit of washi tape while I was putting those trees down. And then any of the tops of the trees that were, hanging over the bottom of my photos, I made sure not to have any glue behind them so I can still slide those photos back down. I knew I wanted to use my white gloss spray to add a couple of splatters to the back of the page once I had the trees on. So that's why I didn't glue my photos down just yet, just to protect them. So I went through my stash again and I found this old thin cut called I Heart Christmas. And I think that this scripty Christmas is going to be perfect for building my title. So I'm going to set that to the side and work on that in just a minute. And then here you can see I'm just sliding my photos back into place. It was really helpful just to kind of give a gentle bend to the bottom of my paper. And then the tops of those trees that weren't glued down, they kind of stuck right up and I was able to just slide those photos right down behind that spot. And I didn't even go back and add any glue to the tops of those trees because I figured they were down just fine and they would be okay without gluing them directly to my photos. All right, so I wanted to keep my title still kind of in that same grayish kind of color like the mink background is, and kind of keep it soft. So I pulled out a little bit of charcoal cardstock from my stash, and what I'm going to do, because this die cut is so delicate, and I didn't really want to try gluing a couple of different cutouts together. That could get a little bit tricky. What I'm going to do is just take 2 pieces of that cardstock and glue them together now, and then send it through my die cutting machine with that Christmas die cut. And that way I've already got 2 pieces of cardstock thick, but I don't have to try to mess with gluing that tiny dainty word down later once I've cut it out twice. So I thought about doing it one more time and getting it a couple more layers thick, but I think I'm just going to leave it at 2. So this is 2 pieces of cardstock thick, already glued together, so convenient. Just going to poke out some of those little tiny holes. This is a really cute one. I love this. And then, of course, my title is going to be Meowie Christmas, because this is Atticus under the Christmas tree, and it was his favorite place to take some naps. Last year was the second Christmas that we had our cats, and the first year when they were still kittens, he was responsible for knocking one of the Christmas trees down at one point. And so I was a little nervous last year if we were going to have a repeat performance of that, but he was on better behavior, and instead he just liked to crawl under the spot here under the tree behind the presents and take his naps all the time. So fingers crossed for this year that we continue to have some good luck and some kitties who are on better behavior. So I've gone ahead and glued that down, hopefully straight. It was a little hard to tell because my picture is not on straight, but I did use my T-square ruler to put it down, and then I also used my ruler to draw myself a pencil line for that stamping that I did. I'm going to let that stamping dry for a while before I come in and erase it. Now, I felt like I had a lot of color at the bottom of my page, but it's a lot of brown and gray up at the top of the page. So I went back to that Holly Jolly paper pack from long ago, and I found a scrap of that same pattern paper that I used at the bottom of the page. And I think I'm going to use this circle die cut to cut out a little something that I can tuck behind that one page, that one photo. And then I noticed that I had this branding strip, this zip strip in that paper pack, and it has just a bunch of little word sentiments that you can cut apart. And this one is in that green apple color, which is perfect because some of my trees are stamped in that color, and it says naughty or nice. And I thought that that would be a lot of fun to put on Atticus's layout here, because, was he going to behave or was he not going to behave? Although he did. So I let this sit, actually ended up sitting for a few days, but usually I just make sure to give it a little bit of drying time, but it did sit for a few days. And then I used my rub and remove eraser to erase my pencil line that I had done for my stamping. Honestly, my rub and remove eraser is usually really good at taking off pencil marks, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because it was on colored cardstock, I had a hard time getting that pencil line totally erased. You'll see it a little bit in the close-ups at the end. So I'm going to take that circle that I die cut out of that same pattern paper and just tuck it behind this left-hand photo here. I didn't really leave myself a whole lot of wiggle room. I apparently glued this down really well. I couldn't get that circle under there very well, so I had to cut it down a little bit more. And then I am going to put some foam tape behind my naughty or nice little strip, and then I'll just layer that over the top of the circle. Now, normally I don't really enjoy scrapbooking Christmas. I don't know, what are your thoughts on it? I think maybe it's just because usually I have so many pictures and they're usually not the best pictures. The lighting is bad. People look weird. I don't know, like nobody's looking. I really don't enjoy scrapbooking Christmas. I kind of cringe a little bit when it's time to get to those photos in my scrapbook. So I was excited about these ones though, because I don't know, the cat was cooperating a little bit better than kids do sometimes for pictures, you know. So I enjoyed this. I thought this was maybe a good way to start the holiday season and kind of get going into that Christmas spirit and get moving on some of my other Christmas layouts that I have to do. And I still felt like I wanted a little bit more color up top there around the title. So I went digging through my stash and found a whole bunch of enamel dots just in the same colors that I had stamped my triangle trees in. And so I'm going to use the rosy color and the green apple color and then the yellow lemonade color and scatter those around a couple of different places here. Not really down by the trees so much. One that's kind of down here by the bottom right photo, but really I kind of just let the trees be the color down there, and then I kept the dots mostly to the top of the page. And then that is going to be it. So I hope you guys are having a great Thanksgiving. I can't believe it's already the end of November and the Christmas season is upon us. So like I said, this was kind of fun, a fun way for me to get going into my Christmas scrapbooking, because normally I'm a bit of a Scrooge about it, but I enjoyed this one. I hope you guys feel inspired. All of these products that I used are from my stash from close to my heart. So I don't have any links for you, but maybe you have them or something similar in your stash as well. But at the very least, I hope it inspired you and that you enjoyed watching. Thanks for being here with me, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye. Happy crafting.